Основные усилия сосредоточим на повышении боеспособности национальных контингентов и совершенствовании управления коллективными силами. Предлагаем запустить масштабную программу оснащения коллективных сил современными образцами российских вооружений и техники, доказавшими свою эффективность в ходе реальных военных действий.
Started with Russia, we're having some talks with Russia. Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
What are the big sticking?
We settled 8 wars, and I thought this would be one of the easier ones because of my relationship with President Putin. But this is probably one of the more difficult ones. There's a lot of hatred.
What's the next step?
They're going to keep talking. They're talking to Russia now. Steve Witkoff is going over, maybe with Jared. I'm not sure about Jared going, but he's involved in the process, smart guy, and they're going to be meeting with President Putin, I believe, next week in Moscow.
Next week in Moscow?
I think so, yes. No, I don't have a deadline. You know what the deadline for me is? When it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment.
Well, it does feel like Groundhog Day. We've been through this a few times. The fact here is that the fundamentals have not changed. The fundamentals are that Russia wants to wage this war against Ukraine and will only stop if stopped. That is, they need pressure to stop them. And what we've seen with round after round of efforts at negotiations, incentives offered to Russia, some sanctions placed on Russia, diplomatic talks, different formats, different plans, but the fundamentals have not changed. So everyone's looking for some easy way out where we negotiate, Putin's reasonable, and we have a deal. There isn't going to be an easy way out. Putin wants to wage this war, and he has to be stopped.
Speaking about any agreements of Ukraine for any peace plans, I would say there is no final version of any peace framework so far. So the document that was presented to Ukraine and discussed in Geneva was significantly transformed, and it reflects a lot of things that Ukraine wanted to put there or to change or to exclude from this plan, but there is no final draft. It's important to understand that the final decision and approval will be taken by the president, and it's really so because there are some points that are exclusive competence of the president, and the delegation was not authorized to say this final version okay. So I think the process is still ongoing, and it's very premature to say that something is agreed upon. But what I think is important to say is that first, we discussed each and every point. Second, most of them were amended on this or that way. Somewhere it was a substantial amendment, somewhere it was editorial because it was important to remove duplicates, for example, or to make it more clear from the legal standpoint. Some were completely moved out because they are not within the Ukraine security framework and more related to US-Russia relations or whatever.
We firmly believe security decisions about Ukraine must include Ukraine. That was our position in Geneva, and always security decisions about Europe must include Europe, and the same applies to Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, other countries, and every nation. And this is simply fair, and it actually works, because when something is decided behind the back of the country or its people, there is always a high risk that it simply will not work. Ukraine has the framework developed by our teams in Geneva. That framework is on the table, and we are ready to move forward together with the United States of America, with personal engagement of President Trump, and with Europe, with leaders, and with all partners who have their strengths and capacity to help. And I'm ready to meet with President Trump, and there are sensitive points to discuss. We have them still, and we think that the presence of European leaders could be helpful